Welcome once again to How to Relate to Anyone. Here is Dr. Orv Owens.
Well, hello again, and we welcome you back for program number 5 on a downward relationship. We've talked about upward, inward, outward. This is the downward relationship. This is how you relate to those people you have authority over, or in a sales situation, how you relate to clients. The downward relationship is always expressed in taking responsibility for fulfilling whatever the need is that's being dealt with in that relationship. In a sales situation, making sure that that client understands the value of your product, service, or whatever. In a management position, having the employees, your employees, understand where you're going, how you're getting there, and what role they play and what part they play. Good communication is always a downward relationship situation. You as a manager have authority. You as a supervisor have authority. You as a salesperson has what we call positional authority, where you have a position based upon the fact that you have an appointment with that client and they are looking to you as a supplier of products or services that you offer. So in the downward relationship, what we want to do is how to relate to clients and how to relate to subordinates or people who work for you. And sometimes this is in a downward relationship, this is a very subtle moment by moment situation. You're called upon to make a statement or offer some advice, or you're called upon to clarify something. Anytime you're put on stage, anytime you're put on the podium, anytime the focus is on you for answers, you have what we call a downward relationship. Everyone in the room at this point now is looking for you to give them information that's going to help them reach their own personal goals and achieve whatever they're looking for in life. So we all play the upward and downward and outward roles at different times. And looking at the downward relationship, what you have to realize is that you have 100% responsibility to get the message across or become the leader that the organization needs, or get your sales presentation so clear that each person sitting in your presentation understands the value of that what you're offering. Because remember, they're going to buy value. Interesting enough, in a management role, they're looking for value also. They're looking for a leader who knows what they're doing, know where they're going, and can direct them towards a high level of productivity. So that's all value-oriented and very value-based information or action and reactions in that relationship or those relationships. Here's the question of the day. Are you a boss or a leader? The reason I ask that question is because we have a lot of bosses, very few leaders. In studies we have conducted with over 15,000 businesses now over the years, and some companies hire us to come in just to do surveys and determine this. We have found that in most cases, 65% or plus who are in management roles are not really leaders. They're more pushers of people. They're more bossy, more demanding than creating a desire to fulfill what you want, need, and desire from that employee. When people are stretching to meet your expectations, that makes you a leader. When people are doing what they're told to do because they have to or get fired, that makes you a boss. And we want to do a separation here in this lesson on the difference between being a boss and being a leader. And the reason is very simple. A boss will cause people to do what they have to do to get by. Letter of the law. You told me to do this, I did it. Now it's done. They're not going to go the extra mile. They're not going to put their heart and soul into whatever they're doing. And in a sales situation, if you are a boss rather than a leader, if you're using pushy techniques to sell your product or service, you're going to not have a high closing ratio. You're going to not have a high referral base. People aren't going to refer you because they don't like to be pushed around, and they don't want to refer you to somebody else who doesn't like to be pushed around either. And some salespeople are so pushy that they literally turn people off, and in fact get a role reversal situation where some of these clients are saying to their friends, don't ever go to that company. Don't ever let that salesman in your house. When you have that happening, your days are numbered as a salesperson. You better start looking for another occupation, or you better change your ways. And that's what this lesson is really all about. How to create the right downward relationship where you are assuming total 100% responsibility for your clients or for your staff, to make sure they understand, know what to do, know how to respond, understand the value of your product or service if you're in sales. And that's where we want to go with this. How do you do that on a consistent basis with a variety of people? Because you see, no two people are exactly alike, and in most cases in sales, you have more than one person sitting in your presentation. As a manager, you have normally more than one or two people on staff, and so you have to relate to each individual as an individual based upon their frame of reference and their value system in order to assume full responsibility for them. This is why so few management people are leaders, very few, because they don't take the time nor the energy, or maybe have never been trained. I've worked with so many companies where they promote people because they've been around a long time. That doesn't qualify somebody as a leader. A leader generates enthusiasm and causes people to want to stretch and be productive. You know, a boss will get people to come to work on time and roll up their sleeves and get the job done today, and then go home and maybe even cuss out the boss on the way out the door. It happens. So a boss pushes people, especially subordinates, pushes subordinates to produce. Now the problem with that is, in most cases, they will produce, but they'll not be really productive. And the difference between just producing and being productive is in sales, repeat and referral business. In management, it's going the second mile, going the extra mile to make sure we're turning out a good product. We're doing everything we can to make this a highly successful organization. Because every job carries with it opportunity to go an extra mile, to do the extra little things to make the job more effective and more productive. But you have to have people who are stretching to meet your expectations in order to get them to do that kind of thing. And if you don't have people who are cooperative, you don't have people who are looking for ways to please you, if you don't have people who are going up early and staying late, if you don't have that kind of consistency in your organization, you're probably needing this lesson desperately. So you're in front of the right projector, the right laptop, or whatever you're watching us on today for this lesson, because what we want to talk about is how do you get people to stretch to meet your expectations. That's my definition of good leadership. So a leader creates a system or a pathway towards a high level of productivity, and coaches and encourages on an ongoing basis to get people to stretch, to learn, to develop, to become highly productive and enjoy the art of being productive. And it is an art. It's something we develop Being a highly productive person has worked at becoming a highly productive person. Doesn't just happen. And it's because that person who is highly productive has stretched, has literally worked at becoming more proficient, more effective, broaden their understanding. All those things are really important in an employee becoming everything they can become. And this is how we develop leaders within an organization. When it comes time for needing a new manager or supervisor or whatever, we got a long laundry list because everybody on staff is a leader. Because we're developing leaders rather than just getting employees to come to work and do their job. Not much value in that. A boss in sales uses coercive words and statements to make a salesperson work harder. Hey, loser, you're going to do something this week? I have heard so many put downs of salespeople, and then they expect them to go out and keep a good attitude and make a sale. It just doesn't make sense. But they think by beating up on them, not physically, of course, but verbally, they motivate them to do something so they can get some positive reinforcement. Got news for you, sales manager. Every time you beat up on somebody, you're taking away their productivity, their drive, their desire, their positive attitude projection. And you're making it difficult for them to even make a sale, much less have a high closing ratio. So, the true leader in sales is always elevating or building up or encouraging or suggesting new ways of maybe being more productive. But in all cases, building up that salesperson so you send them out on fire, ready to light the world on fire. You're like a coach at halftime. You know, we can do this. We can make it happen. You can do this. I wouldn't have brought you on board. I wouldn't even have you as part of my staff if I didn't believe you could be a high level, high productive salesperson. All you have to do is do these things and you're going to get these kind of results. It's encouragement. It's called leadership. It's called developing subordinates. It's called building up the intensity of emotion in a salesperson so they're on fire and they project that fire and people buy it. People buy enthusiasm. It's very difficult to buy something from a salesperson who says, well, what do you think about that? Or how do you like that one? Oh, here's another one you might want to look at. You've had those kind of salespeople and you go, what is this person doing in sales? I have talked to so many people who have looked at a product or service and they liked the product or they liked the service, but they didn't trust or believe in the salesperson, therefore they didn't buy today. And if somebody else comes along that they do like or are impressed with, they're going to buy that product. So they were a qualified prospect that was thrown in the ditch by a salesperson who didn't relate well to his or her client. I listen to sales presentations and I wonder, how in the world does that person stay in sales? I mean, they're on a commission basis. They must be getting some financial help from in-laws or outlaws or somebody because they're sure not making it in the sales field. I know that, not with that attitude. So a boss who is the sales manager is really a motivational speaker. You have to elevate the enthusiasm and the belief level of those salespeople so they can hardly wait to get out the door to meet that first prospect. As opposed to, oh no, here we go again, go out and beat on the brush and miss more sales than we make, and I don't know, maybe I'm in the wrong field. And that's how turnover in personnel comes and how you lose your good salespeople and they show up in another company as a sales leader. happens all the time. Just met a guy who was with a real estate firm in our area here, and now is with a new real estate firm, and he's the top salesperson in that firm, and the other firm is hardly making it. And he's not sure why, but I know why, because I know the other firm, and I know what kind of leadership they have in that firm. You know, they get you licensed, do the basic training of getting you licensed in real estate, and say, there it is, this is your territory, go out and get some listings. Sick 'em. That's what you say to a dog. And you say that to some salespeople in some field. So, using coercive words to motivate people just doesn't go anywhere. It literally tears down rather than builds up. And threats, of course, normally are going to have to be carried out, because you start threatening somebody, they're on the way out the door. And you might as well get rid of them right now. A salesperson, a leader in sales, helps the salesperson understand how to relate to people, how to make the presentation so it's believable, and creating trust relationships with clients. Because until clients trust you as a salesperson, they're not going to buy from you. They just can't do it. You don't, and your spouse doesn't, and nobody does. We just don't buy from people we don't trust. So the first sale, the first close, I call it, is building a trust relationship before you even show the product or the service. So the long range goal then with each salesperson is to build up their belief that they can establish a trust relationship with anybody. They can get people to believe in our product, our service, believe in our company. A coercive salesperson, easy for me to say, a coercive salesperson makes prospects feel stupid if they don't buy. Yeah, I had a loser the other day who couldn't see the value of this. What is this salesperson really saying? Well, if you don't see the value, you're going to be a loser in their mind also. A boss needs everyone to know who is the boss. Wear the sign around their neck, I'm the boss. And you know it. And yell and scream on the ground just so you know they're the authority. A leader focuses attention on the employees and building up the employees, causing them to become productive, because in productivity there's a sense of well-being, there's a sense of accomplishment, a sense of being successful. A boss uses profanity to create some kind of strength, or position authority. If you have to use profanity and harsh and coercive words, you've lost the battle already. I mean, those people are all on the way out the door, and so are you as a boss. And if you own the company, you're in trouble, because your company is going to go under, because you cannot treat people that way and be successful in the long haul. You literally chase people away. A leader uses strong discipline. They set a program in place. They set a training program. They tell the employees or salespeople what to do and what not to do. Create a pattern to follow. Give them a track to run on. Build confidence by virtue of good training, so that the salesperson goes out equipped to meet any objections by any client or any prospect. The employee can deal with any problem that comes up in the business because they have been so well trained. A leader uses discipline, and discipline is to teach. Strong discipline, organized, focused. Anyone can be a boss, But it takes a person with leadership ability to be a true leader and to be a highly productive person of building people and creating success patterns in their staff, whether it be sales or management. Leadership is not a popularity contest. You're not going to be real popular because sometimes you're going to have to tell people you're going to have to work harder on this before you get to go out and actually make the sale. You have to work harder on this. You're going to have to redo this, whatever. There's things that you have to do in discipline to cause that salesperson or that employee to stretch to meet your expectations. But then that's what leadership is really all about. My friend Benny has the ability to say a word or two to one of his salespeople, and it causes them to be on fire. Makes their day, causes them to feel like they're somebody special, causes them to feel that they can go out and conquer the world, that they can talk to anybody and they can get the product presented in a way that it's going to cause people to not only want the product, but give some referrals. He's a leader. And you can be a leader also because it's not something you're born with, it's something you develop. And you develop it by understanding these principles of leading people into a high level of productivity. That's what true leadership is. And success comes by virtue of developing staff to be high achievers. You are developing success in your client, in your salespeople, and in your management team, the team that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. See, I know something about you, and that is you have all the leadership ability you're ever going to get. You already have it. Are you using it? That's really the question. Are you being a leader as opposed to thinking about it? Are you pushing rather than leading? Let me challenge you. For the next week, just the next week, be a leader. Encourage, coach, reinforce, show, teach, instruct, give hints, pats on the back. All those things go a long ways as a leader in causing a high level of productivity. And the fact is, you are a leader, you just haven't used your leadership ability if you're not doing what we just have been talking about. Give it to them, give it to them, give them what they need in leadership, and you'll see a high level of productivity in your organization.